For almost 2 decades, this was the deal that just always seemed to be out of reach. But now, it's finally happened. India and the European Union have locked in one of the most ambitious trade agreements in modern history. We're talking about a pact that is seriously poised to reshape global trade as we know it.
I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. She said, "We did it. We delivered the mother of all deals." That tells you everything you need to know about the scale here. It is so much more than just a trade deal. It's a huge geopolitical statement. So, let's break down what makes this thing so important.
Okay, first off, just think about the sheer number of people we're talking about. This new partnership creates a market of 2 billion people. That is the combined population of the world's largest democracy, India, plus all 27 nations of the European Union. Just massive.
And when you have that many people, you're talking about some serious economic firepower. Together, this new bloc represents a staggering 25% of the entire global GDP. It's a move that literally creates a new economic heavyweight on the world stage. Okay, so these are huge, mind-boggling numbers, right? But what does this actually mean for regular people, for consumers in India? Well, let's start with a really fun part. What's about to get a whole lot cheaper? Let's kick things off with the premium car market. For years, if you wanted to buy a European car in India, think BMW, Audi, Mercedes, you were looking at import tariffs as high as 110%. 110. Now, look at this. The New Deal slashes that all the way down to just 10%. That is an absolute game changer for the luxury auto market in India.
And hey, it is not just cars. Look at this table. The changes for food and drink are just wild. European wine used to get hit with a 150% tariff. That's dropping to around 25%. And for things like olive oil and other premium foods, tariffs of 45, even 50% are dropping all the way down to zero. That's right, zero.
But this goes way, way beyond your dinner table or your garage. The deal also scraps tariffs on all sorts of critical industrial and high-tech goods. We're talking machinery, medical equipment, even aircraft and spacecraft parts will now be duty-free. This could be a huge deal for lowering costs for key Indian industries and really boosting manufacturing.
Right, but this was a negotiation, It wasn't a one-way street. So what did India get in return? This is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at some of the country's own major wins from this deal.
This is a massive win for India's Make in India initiative. You've got these key labor-intensive sectors like textiles, leather goods, and jewelry. They're now going to get zero-duty access to the enormous EU market. That immediately makes Indian exports way more competitive against regional rivals like Bangladesh and Vietnam.
And it's not just about goods. Another huge win for India is all about people. The deal includes something called a mobility partnership. What does that mean? Well, it's designed to make it much easier for Indian skilled professionals, workers, and students to live, work, and study anywhere across the EU. The EU has even committed to uncapped access and recognizing Indian qualifications. That's a big deal.
But here's the thing. If you think this is all just about tariffs and market access, you're kind of missing the bigger picture. This deal is really deeply rooted in geopolitics.
Which, of course, begs the question, after nearly 20 years of talks that were on again, off again, why now? What was the spark that finally pushed this historic agreement over the finish line?
This timeline really tells the story. Talks first kicked off way back in 2007, but they stalled out by 2013. The real game changer was a new global reality of rising trade tensions and protectionism. That created this sudden urgency to get back to the table in 2022, and that's what led to the deal we see today.
So when you boil it all down, this whole deal is a really smart, strategic move for both sides. In a world that's increasingly dominated by the economic gravity of the US and China, both the EU and India are basically saying, hey, let's create a third democratic economic pole, a way to diversify their economies and really assert their own independence.
And get this, that new strategy isn't just economic. The pact also includes a major security and defense partnership. This means deeper cooperation on everything from counter-terrorism to joint naval exercises and cybersecurity. It really signals a whole new level of strategic trust between the world's 2 largest democracies.
So, the deal has been announced. The handshakes are done. What actually happens next? How does this massive agreement come to life?
Well, it's not going to happen overnight.
First, lawyers have to comb through the massive legal text. Then it has to be officially approved or ratified by the parliaments in both India and the EU, and that could take months. After that, the tariff cuts will be phased in gradually, with some of the rollouts happening over a 5 to 10-year period.
So, as this landmark agreement slowly moves towards becoming a reality, it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. In an age of growing protectionism and geopolitical tension, is this kind of partnership between the world's two biggest democracies, built on shared values, is this the blueprint for the future of global trade?